Hello there, and welcome back to another session in this amazing month of Copilot during June 2024, covering the whole spectrum of Copilot, which is created by the Copilot Connection. My name is Kalman, and I am going to be presenting on why consider Copilot for sales. As you can see, I've got all my various social media here, badges that I've got for being a Microsoft MVP for business applications, as well as a Microsoft certified trainer and some other stuff. I do a massive amount for badges for those who know me, for those who don't. If you can give me a badge or a piece of swag for something, decent swag, I will hasten to admit, you'll be amazed at what I may do around it. And as here the title suggests, I am going to be talking about sales and Copilot for sales. Now, as I said, I'm an MVP for Microsoft Business Applications, so essentially Dynamics 365 and Power Platform. And if you are unfamiliar with this, don't worry too much. So for those of you who may not know what Dynamics 365 is, at least the front-facing Dynamics 365, because there are actually two sides to it. There's what was previously referred to as Customer Engagement, or CRM. And then there's that's the front office facing applications, and then separately there's the ERP, the sort of finance systems, the back office systems. I specialize in the front office systems as well as the low code capabilities with Power Platform as well. And holistically, the way we look at Dynamics 365, the front end for it, is split up into sort of three separate areas. There are a couple more, but essentially the way to think about it is a journey. Any customer is going to start off on a journey, and that journey will usually start with some marketing efforts. And for marketing, we have Dynamics 365 Customer Insights. There are actually two flavors of this. There's Customer Insights Data, and there's Customer Insights Journeys. Customer Insight Journeys is about taking the customer on the journey. They then move forward into the sales cycle, once they've been softened up is probably not quite the right term to use, but once they're amenable to being approached for a sale, then it moves into the sales space, Dynamics 365 Sales, which is where salespeople go and carry out all the relevant sales tasks. And that's what I'm going to be focusing on for the main part of my session today. But as well, it's important to call out service after a sale is carried out, completed, signed off on, paid for, etc. It then moves into the service side, so both customer service, which is when a customer will contact the organization, as well as field service, which is when something happens at the customer. And field service incidentally could be actually, if selling, say, large appliances, they need to be installed at the customer, and we would use Dynamics 365 field service to handle the scheduling of it, as well as any maintenance that may need to be done. They're all applications. They're built on top of the single data source, on top of Dataverse for it, the customer data platform that enables us to be able to see everything. They're able to connect into a variety of other systems as well for it. And of course, now we have Copilot. You will have heard already, hopefully, some amazing sessions around Copilot, with some still to come. But there is Copilot across all of these capabilities. So this is what Dynamics 365 at a very, very simplistic high level is around. But let's go ahead and take a step back, right? Organizations are not new to selling, right? I have had my own small company some years back for it. I am not a salesperson. I may happen to sell incidentally. One of the functions I perform is a pre-sales role, but I am not a seller for it. But I know enough that it goes, if you're setting up an organization, you'll either got products and goods or services or combination of them. You're going to need to go ahead and sell them. Great. But it's not just about selling. And this is really important to understand, right? It's about the experience of the customer. And it doesn't matter where you are within the organization, you need to be able to understand how the customer has been interacting with the organization, with your organization holistically. So even if you're a seller, you need to understand what's happening in the customer service space with the customer, as well as what's happening in the marketing space with the customer. This is really, really important. You're not siloed, right? You can't just say, well, I'm only going to deal with its sales stuff and I'm not interested in anything else. And the reason for this is customer experience. This is proving to be absolutely vital in today's day and age, because customers, if they have a negative experience, doesn't matter which part of an organization they're going to be engaged with, but if they have a negative experience with a brand that they know of, they are 32% likely to go ahead and switch to a different supplier, to a different brand. Now, that's not me just making up figures. This is based on a massive amount of market research carried out over the last few years. Organizations now need to be focused on customer experience to provide, as you like referring to it as, exemplar customer experience for it, no matter where within the organization that happens. So again, we think back to those sort of three overlapping circles. So whether it's marketing, sales, or customer service, all of that needs to drive towards the customer experience. And organizations that are focusing on customer experience are growing rapidly. Unbelievable the trajectory growth that we're seeing in the market. And again, that's across verticals. It doesn't matter how and what you're selling for it. If you're focused on customer experience, I'm not saying you neglect focusing on the sales part, of course, but if you are focused on customer experience, you will find that you will be able to retain your existing customers as well as gain new customers. But if you think about actually what sellers are doing, right, what sales team are, whether they're absolutely new into the selling process or they've been doing it for I don't know how many years for it, they're actually not spending all of their time focusing on sales activities. In fact, under a third of their time are actually directly focused on sales-focused activities. 70% of their time on average, again, it will depend how experienced they are or not, and of course the vertical that they're working in, but approximately 70% of the time is dealt with other items, whether that's reviewing information, creating information, going ahead and sending out appointments, reviewing appointments, typing up appointments and meetings that have gone on for it, chasing down others to find information for it. It's a massive amount of time. On the top of that, with the whole amount of information that we're getting from many different digital sources for it, employees are overwhelmed. Generally, they will at least once or twice a week feel that they do not have enough time or energy to go do their job for it. And what this means is that we're behind the ball. We're being reactive to customers. Yes, salespeople may go ahead and reaching out to customers, whether they're cold calling or, they're making best use of leads and connections that they already have in place. But we're being more reactive than proactive. Ideally, we could be as proactive as possible for it. And this is a problem. If you're sales focused, you want to be able, obviously, to sell as much as you can. So let's take a high level look at some of the challenges that we find in place. So challenge number 1, customer acquisition. If we're spending lots of time doing those mundane activities, we don't have time to go after customers. If, say, we have several different systems and a customer emails in that, their details have changed, they've updated their phone number or their address, we need to go and, copy and paste that information across multiple systems. We can't focus on the customer. We're focusing on manual tasks. Yes, we may have a personal assistant to go off and do that for us, but we are going to be going ahead and focusing on getting information correct or looking into information or trying to scrabble and find information across multiple systems for a deal. We're not able to spend as much time on customer acquisition. We're also unable to focus on going ahead and seeing what other opportunities there will be at the customer. We've got so much going on just with what we've got in place, with what's happening. Actually trying to focus and identify further opportunities, again, can go ahead and be challenging for it. A good example of this is when I ask salespeople, I say, so, you've got a meeting coming up with a customer. Again, whether it's an in-person meeting, a hybrid or a virtual meeting is actually regardless in this respect. And I say, how much time are you spending preparing for a customer that you may never have met before, but you've been having conversations with via email, via phone, etc. And they are usually going ahead and telling me, it's somewhere approximately around an hour or so. It might be a bit more, it might be a bit less, it might be what's going on with it, whether just them as an individual salesperson or it's a whole sales team. But they're spending a decent amount of time. Now, if we think of let's take lunch break out for a moment. It's very important, of course, to have lunch break. So we're going to leave that to the sacred hour, right? You've got 7 to 8 hours a day that you're able to go ahead and actually, work, as assuming you're not spending longer days working. Let's assume it's a reasonable day. So if you're spending an hour prepping for an hour meeting, you've got approximately the ability to take 4 meetings a day. That's just working out what's going on. That's not even putting in the time and the research to try and see what other opportunities are that the customer hasn't spoken to you about. So there are challenges for this. Customer retention, right? What about those, you're going to be focusing on the big deals, the ones that look promising. What happens about your customers at risk? You don't really have time for that. So this is going to be a problem and a challenge for it. They're going to drop to the bottom of your pile. Yes, you might have a post-it note somewhere on your desk talking about it, but it's a problem, right? You're not focused on keeping those customers whose deals are going problematic. You're going after the deals in which you can go ahead and win. And overall, from an efficiency point of view, well, let's face it, you're not being particularly efficient. Now, these are challenges which, again, organizations holistically, regardless of vertical or industry, will go ahead and experience for it. But we now have Copilot. Now, I want to make it very clear, right? Copilot is not there to replace you, right? You are the pilot in charge. I always like the airline theme. I love flying on aeroplanes and such. You are the pilot in charge. Copilot is there to assist you. It's not going to take over, but it is there to make things better. And using the next generational AI that is present within Copilot, we see these three main areas for improvement. And shortly, I'm going to hopefully be doing some demos and walking through some stuff to be able to show you how this goes. So the first thing is about creativity and productivity. What do I mean by this? Now, I'm not suggesting you're a marketing person, right? This session is focused on sales after all. But even if you're an experienced salesperson, writing information, whether it's emails or a Word document or a PowerPoint presentation, right? It may be second nature to you, but on the other hand, it may not be second nature to you. And needing to come up with these fresh each and every time, across however many dozens and dozens of opportunities you may be juggling, let's face it, can be challenging and sometimes frustrating for it. Well, Copilot can help you with it. It can create drafts for you, not just emails, but also in Word documents and PowerPoint presentations, as we're going to be seeing, to be able to go ahead and suggest content, and that's relevant content to bring in, right? It's not irrelevant content because it can mine the information about your customer, about the opportunity, and bring that all in. So that's around creativity and productivity, right? The less time you have to spend typing things out and trying to think, staring at the wall or out of the window and trying to come up with something fun and interesting, obviously the better. If you can get Copilot to do it for you as that first step, some people may say a start of a 10 or a start of a 20. It really depends as to what you want, but it can start inspiring you for it. Copilot can also act on in-the-moment insights. Again, we're going from reactive to proactive, and we're going to be seeing an example of this. If we're in a call with a customer, right, we've got a Microsoft Teams meeting that's going on with a customer, we can see information about the interaction with the customer, right? We get an after call summary, we can see sentiment analysis, who the customer spoke, how positive or maybe not so positive they were, and we can see that for it. But we can also see in real time if they mention a product or competitor, for instance. Copilot can go away and find out information and present it to us directly within the call, within seconds. Well, it will depend on what the information is, but usually, within a few seconds. So we can be proactive. We can say, oh, well, hold on a moment. A few seconds ago you mentioned this. Actually, let me share some additional information with you. So we can be reactive. Not reactive, sorry. Well, it's sort of reactive because it's reacting to what the customer said, but it's not reacting way after the fact. We can be proactive in sharing that information for you. And we can personalize the experience. Because we've got access again to all that information from the customer, we can customize everything to the customer. Let's face it, customers in today's day and age are picky. They want everything not just personalized, but hyper-personalized to them. So we can identify the customer. Having that shotgun approach where you send out, a sales blast to every single person in your system with the same information, customers aren't really interested in that anymore. They're looking for something better. So let's now go ahead and see how we can do this. So hopefully these demos work. So the first demo that we're going to be taking a look at is how we can engage quicker and better with customers. So let's go ahead and switch over to our demonstration environment. So here we are in our demonstration environment and logged in with a demonstration user that we've got here for this. This demonstration user's name happens to be Raddy for it. And as we can see, we're now here within Outlook. And Raddy has received an email from a client whose name is Eric for it. Eric works at Contoso.org. I don't know if any of you have heard of that organization before, but it's quite a familiar one to many of us for it. Now, Raddy has been contacting Eric. He's trying to get a sales going, right? He's a sales chap. He's trying to get it on for it. And Eric has now pulled in, replied with some additional information around this to be able, to see about an opportunity for it. And as we can see, we have Copilot here on the right-hand side. Now, when we launch Copilot, what happens is Copilot goes ahead and starts populating information directly into the opportunity, which is pulled from the email. You'll note Raddy hasn't actually done anything here apart from go ahead and launch Copilot in the Outlook interface. And at that point, Raddy can then go and say, right, I've got this information for it, click save. When he saves it, it's going to create the opportunity record directly within whichever CRM system is being used. So whether that's Dynamics 365 or Salesforce. We'll talk a bit more about that later for it. So we'll then go ahead and sync in, which is great for it. What it will also do is it will provide a summary of the opportunity to give Raddy context for an email to go ahead and send back. Obviously, we want to be able to go ahead and reply to Eric. So, as we can see, we've got some information. It's pulled that out, from the CRM system, from the email. If we've already got it on place there, so we can see, it's got some information here around Contoso. And at this point, we can then go ahead and click Chat at the top of the Copilot window. And what we can then do is we can see now in the chat interface in Copilot, we can see some options for it. So these are pre-populated options in which we can just click on if we want to. We can find relevant information, or we can go ahead and ask it, or we could just type free type a question at the bottom. But what we actually want to do is we want to find relevant products, because Eric is looking for some specific products. Copilot is filled out that prompt for us. So if we click find relevant products, it's now going to go ahead and get the relevant information and will go ahead and give us the products. So we've got several products here. But we want to dive into a comparison of this so we can suggest the best one for Eric. So we have the option prompt at the bottom, compare these products. If we click there, Copilot will then go ahead and get the relevant information for us and go ahead and give it to us. Okay, once we got the information that's there, what we then want to do is we want to go ahead and reply to Eric and include this information. So if we go ahead, we click reply, we can then go ahead and start typing if we want to, or we can draft it with Copilot, which will then go ahead and create a draft. Now, again, it's a Copilot, it's not the pilot's not in charge. It's a draft for us to use as we want to. So it looks good for it. We're very happy. So we're going to keep this and then we're going to send it out to the customer. Okay, email has gone to Eric. And as we can see, the email has now been sent out from Raddy to Eric with all of the information for it. Again, short scenario, but goes to show us just how much time it can save us, right? Think about how much time we could spend if we don't know the products. Even if we know the products, we want to work on a comparison. We're going to be spending a load of time trying to work out what are the differences between them. Copilot for sales allows us to be able to get that information and Copilot service it at our fingertips to go ahead and use, plus of course draft email responses. Again, saving us time. It's all about ensuring that we're spending as much time on sales focused activities as possible. Okay, what are we going to be up to next? So the second demo we're going to be taking a look at is how we can handle customer interactions. This is obviously in real time. As I mentioned a few minutes back, right? If we're engaging directly with the customer, we want to have information essentially serviced at our fingertips. Copilot can help us with that. So let's jump over to our demonstration environment and go take a look at that. So back here in our demonstration for it, we're going to go ahead and start preparing for the meeting with Eric. We're going to use Copilot for Sales within Microsoft Word to generate a meeting preparation brief. So directly within Microsoft Word, what we can do is we can select the Copilot text box to the type prompt, and we can select Sales Meeting from the drop-down menu. So we're going to ask to help prepare for the pitch. And what happens is we can reference other items. Copilot allows us to go ahead and do this. If we type the /, what it will then do is it'll ask us, is it going to be a file? Is it going to be a sales meeting? Is it going to be a cloud file? And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be using the follow-up that we have available. So let's go ahead. We're going to take a look at our sales meetings. Right, because we just go back for a moment. This is preparation, of course, for the upcoming meeting. So we go into sales meetings, and we've got at the bottom the follow-up to it. So we're going to be going ahead and using that one. Okay, so it now goes into the Copilot prompt box. Right, let's continue. And now it's going to ask us to base on. So what we can do is we can actually take templates that we've got in place. So we can use the template that we've had. And at that point, it will then go ahead and start generating a document. The document will include a summary of interactions between Raddy and Eric and committed action items, plus any details on the opportunity from the CRM platform. We can obviously modify it further if we want to. We're not wanting to in this instance, so we can then click Keep It, and that will then be in place for us to be able to go ahead and use. Okay, see the amount of time that we've saved instead of gathering it from all different places. Again, we're doing this. I know this is, of course, a demonstration for it, and we have limited time for this specific episode, so it's not a long demonstration, but it goes to show you what can be done just within minutes rather than hours and hours and hours of time that salespeople would usually go ahead and spend. So it's now time for the meeting with Eric. So this is now a Teams meeting that we've got going on with it, and during it, Copilot will surface relevant background information for the meeting directly within Microsoft Teams. It will also attach the meeting preparation brief that we just saw that we created. During the meeting, Copilot is also recognizing that Eric is asking a question. Now, Eric's question is around the packaging. Eric would like more information around it. Now, this isn't something that Eric has put into the chat. This is something that Eric is saying. Copilot is listening to it. So we have the prompt available, as we can see, to help answer Eric's question. Copilot will go away and find information around the various packaging for it. So it's found information about the variety and the design. It's also found some key features. So with a simple click, Raddy was able to get more information live during the call from Copilot to help answer Eric's packaging question. Now, again, we're being reactive to it being raised by Eric, but we had no idea about Eric would be asking these sorts of questions. So essentially as soon as he's asked, what we're able to do is we're able to get information and provide it directly back to Eric in the flow of conversation. Once the meeting is finished and is over, Copilot will then go ahead and generate a meeting summary, a meeting recap, summarizing the highlights and actions from the call. So we can see the brands mentioned. As we can see, we've got keywords, we've got notes from the meeting. We've also got follow-up tasks. So what we can do is we can go ahead and update the opportunity. Again, this is directly from within Microsoft Teams. Copilot, in this case, is suggesting updates for the opportunity. We're happy with that. We can go ahead and click update, and it will go ahead and save it down to our CRM system. Copilot is also suggesting that we send a clear meeting recap email to Eric. So we can go ahead and draft with Copilot. Copilot drafts it for us. We're going to accept the draft. It summarizes the meeting, action steps, action items within the meeting, and next steps. We're happy with it, so we're going to keep it, and then we're going to click send, which will then go out. And finally, during the call, we agree to connect the following week so we can share more product details. So what we can do is we can also use Copilot to be able to create a pitch deck for next week's meeting. So if we see just at the bottom right for it, we're able to create with Copilot a deck. So Copilot will generate a deck in PowerPoint based on the introduction meeting and all related files that's there. Okay, we can now go ahead, we can select our pitch, which we've got in place. Brilliant. Moving ahead, Copilot will go ahead and generate the presentation that's in there. We're happy with the deck. We can then go ahead and we can use it internally as we need to. We know we're now going ahead and creating the full proposal. So let's go ahead and see how we're going to do this with the next item. Okay, and lastly, deal rooms. Now, deal rooms is a concept I don't deal with massively. As I said, I'm not a salesperson specifically, but a deal room is a sort of environment where you can bring everybody together internally within the organization, regardless of where they're actually located, physically or whichever team they're a part of, but who need to be there to go ahead and drive the deal. And Copilot is able to go ahead and help us with deal rooms. So let's switch over to our demonstration environment and go take a look at deal rooms. So we're now still within Teams, but we're now within the deal room that's going on for it around this specific deal. And what we can see is the deck which we've just created, again using Copilot, right? Challenge you is to see, without recapping this entire session for it, work out how many times I've actually said or will say the word Copilot within it. Copilot bingo, it's a marvelous thing. So the deck that we've created now with Copilot, we can share to the deal room in Teams, where both we and all our colleagues are keeping all related files, updates, and communications about the deal. Copilot is actually suggesting to create a task from the post that's assigned to a colleague. So we can click Create Task, and we can now see that the task is there. We can see that the colleague has liked the message, and they've said that they can have it done by tomorrow. I mean, that's really nice. It's nice swiftly for it. So using Copilot for Sales, we were able to engage with the customer and the team, bring in relevant sales insights that are coming from whichever CRM platform, and it's right in the flow of work, whether it's in Outlook or whether it's in Microsoft Teams. Very, very helpful for us. Right, so some great demos there. Hopefully that's helped, brought home a little about Copilot capabilities for it. Incidentally, Microsoft has some amazing marketing videos on Copilot for sales. You can go onto YouTube, you can go take a look at those as well if you want to. It's great from a marketing perspective for it. But let's talk a little bit about pricing, right? Because this is a really important question that generally we get asked. Now, I'm going to put, before I bring up pricing information, I'm just going to put two caveats here. The first caveat is that the pricing that I'm about to share with you is a list price at this point in time. Microsoft, however, does change price costs from time to time. So therefore, if you want the latest costs, always please refer to the Microsoft website, to the pricing pages on there. The second caveat around this is that if you have an enterprise agreement with Microsoft, you may be getting discounts, and therefore this pricing would not necessarily apply. So please don't just go jump off if you're going ahead and thinking of, getting the Copilot and purchasing licenses for it, for sales for yourself and your team members. Please check with IT, whoever's responsible for license acquisition, just to ensure that you know what you're actually going to be getting and what you could be spending. You could be in for a pleasant surprise. Okay, so if you do not have any Copilot capabilities at all yet within your organization, list price is $50 a user a month. Now, this also includes, it's not just Copilot for Sales, but this also includes the Microsoft 365 Copilot capabilities. So, very important to note there. But that's, as I said, if you do not have Copilot at all within your organization. If you have already deployed, however, Copilot for Microsoft 365, that's, I think, approximately $30 a user a month, then there's a step-up SKU of an additional $20 per user per month. Again, this is list price, which will then enable you to use Copilot for Sales. Now, you'll note during this presentation, during this episode, that I've been talking about Copilot for Sales, though I talked about Dynamics 365 Sales at the beginning. For those of you who are quite eagle-eyed, you may have noticed something quite interesting during this presentation, because Copilot for Sales is actually different for Dynamics 365 Sales Copilot. They're two slightly different nuanced items. Dynamics 365 Sales Copilot is Copilot directly within Dynamics 365, though it can actually be used within Teams and Outlook as well. However, Microsoft Copilot for Sales is system agnostic. Well, it's actually quite system agnostic, but it has the capability out the box to connect into Dynamics 365 as your sales system or Salesforce Sales Cloud. I know it says Service Cloud, that should be Sales Cloud. Obviously, I've picked the wrong logo for it, right? You can tell how familiar I am with Salesforce, that didn't jump out at me before. But this is very important. Now, configuring this, you need the necessary admin privileges. It only takes a couple of minutes. It's out the box. Microsoft is additionally working on going ahead and building out connectivity into other sales systems as well. So even if you happen to have non-Microsoft technology system deployed to handle sales, it's not a problem. You can connect Copilot for Sales to it. So with that, I'd like to encourage you to subscribe to Copilot Connection. I've finished with my bit now, but subscribe to Copilot Connection. Here are all the various details for it. There are some amazing people running the show who I know personally, Zoe and Kevin in charge of the Copilot Connection for it. They do absolutely amazing work. So if you're not subscribed already across the various channels, please go do so. And please, of course, check out the additional sessions that are being run during this month of Copilot. So once again, I would like to say thank you so much for your time in attending this session and taking a look at it. Thank you.